how long before Freddie was the album conceived?
Well, really, what happened was when we finished the album before Innuendo, we were all aware, and we had a mutual understanding that Freddie, had a certain amount of time left. So his idea really was to go in and work, and just work till he couldn't work anymore, because I think the work was like a therapy for him, and it was something for him to do, in those terrible last days. And so we went in and we worked, and most of that work can be seen on Made in Heaven, along with some older material as well. So we took a long time to finish the album, and we didn't really want to touch it for a couple of years, because it was a little bit too painful.
And of course, what was it like putting the whole album together in the studio, emotionally, musically?
Well, it was logistically quite difficult, and then also it was a little painful at first, but after a couple of weeks of sort of living with the voice again, being in the room, it almost became like he was a presence in the room, and knowing him so well for so long, you almost knew what he'd be thinking. So we got over that after a couple of weeks.
You mentioned older material, like Made in Heaven, the title track, and of course Too Much Love Will Kill You.
Yeah.
Why the decision to choose older material on the album?
Well, what we went for was a mixture of, one, what we had left from Freddie, and two songs which we thought were great songs, which were never given their full potential before. And I think really that's the case with those two songs. And I believe that by working on them, that we improved them beyond, well, not beyond recognition, but I think they were vastly improved. And in fact, Too Much Love Will Kill You is the original Queen version, before Brian May did a version of that. So that, in a sense, is also sort of brand new in a way, because that's the original.
All right, we are going to watch the original version right now. This is Queen with Too Much Love Will Kill You.
You've got their hardware, now get their software.
You bought that many in India. And so we're going to go back to the year 1972, the breakthrough year for Queen. What was it like recording in Delane Lee Studios in those times?
It was so long ago, I can't remember that much, but I just remember being very young, and we were all very keen, and we had a vision for the band, what we wanted to do with it. And I must say, I never dreamt that we'd be here all this many years later, like 24 years later.
Yeah.
It's almost inconceivable. Here we are, and we always knew exactly what we wanted to do with the music, and we were just lucky, really, that the career unfolded in a way that enabled us to develop. And really, we took a lot of left turns and right turns, little changes here and there in the music, but essentially it had the same musical core.
Okay, Roger, how much of the Queen sounds created then, as in paved the way for the Queen sound to come?
Well, the blueprint was there almost from the beginning. It's just that we hadn't actually done it then. We always wanted to retain a very musical core. It sounds old-fashioned in a way, but good tunes. We wanted to combine harmonies with musical, well, hopefully excellence. And therefore, this sort of layering technique came about, which really we used it for 10 years or so, and then we just sort of put it aside. And a lot of other people were doing it by then. But the multi-structured and layered method of recording, that enabled you to get big sounds and complicated arrangements over.
And who was the driving force behind the band at that time?
Well, I think really the band was very much a unit. I'd have to say that because Brian and I had worked together before, so we were already attuned to one another. We knew the way we thought and we wanted to go. And really Freddie was that energizing catalyst when we had Freddie. John came along a little bit later, and John fitted in very well. But Freddie was the catalyst. He was the one who really drove us, although we all wanted to know where to go. But having said that, the chemistry was always very good. It was a sort of magical chemistry that worked.
All right, now we're going to watch one of the classic rock and roll Queen songs. This one's called Crazy Little Thing Called Love. Now, one of the biggest Queen songs and rock anthems of all time has been Bohemian Rhapsody. Now, what was it like putting a song like that together with such, I should say, complex musical arrangements from opera to hard rock to just simple piano-based chords? How long did it take to record the whole song?
The recording was quite a long process, but it was all in Freddie's head, because he wrote that song, conceived it, and it was like a map, and he was just telling us to follow. He had it written on the back of these phone books, all these very complex harmonies, and so we recorded it in bits, leaving gaps that we'd fill in later. And it was a massive job vocally. There were just three of us on vocals, recording. We had about the equivalent of about 120 people singing. So again and again, and layering, and the counter harmonies, etc. So it was a long, almost tedious job, but it was interesting, because the middle section built as we went along. Yeah. We put extra bits in, and it just became a rather extraordinary piece in the end.
And given the technological constraints in those times, was that a hindrance?
Well, it was, because you didn't have all the tracks that you have to play with now, so we had to layer and layer and layer. And then you do a thing you called it bouncing the tracks down into two. So this will give you more tracks to record on. So basically, in these days you have 48, 96 tracks. Those days we had 16, maybe 24 on that. I can't remember. And that was luxury, So, but it did put a constraint. But it was just really very careful work, building up. Yeah. And I think it's coming up on your screens now.
Yes, you're back on The Vibe with me, Luke Kenny, and with me is Roger Taylor. Roger, we were just talking about Bohemian Rhapsody. Now, one thing I wanted to know was lyrics of the whole song. They're quite, quite radical and quite different. So, who wrote the lyrics? What is the whole song about, basically?
Well, as I said, really, the whole song was in Freddie's head. Yeah. This was his baby, and what the lyrics are all about, I haven't got a clue to this day. I'm not sure he had. No, it was all about remorse, I suppose, and it just went off into a fantasy realm. The guy had obviously killed somebody, and he was sort of confessing to his mama, and then it just went nuts, and it went into somewhere, I don't know where. But so, really, I wouldn't put that much meaning on the words. But it was just an extraordinary musical piece, really.
And like Freddie says, nothing really matters in the end.
Yeah, I think that was quite a nice way just to tie it all up. Yeah.
All right, we're going to watch another song from the new Made in Heaven album. This one's A Winter's Tale. I remember reading that Freddie Mercury once said, "We're the Cecil B. DeMille of rock and roll, always wanting to do things bigger and better." So as a member of Queen, would you draw a parallel to that?
Well, I mean, that was very much our philosophy. We were trying always to be apolitical and just to disseminate pleasure through music. Is that pretentious enough? And so I remember we had another saying, we used to say, hey, we got more lights on this tour than the Vatican. And silly things like that. It's sort of old-fashioned P.T. Barnum showmanship in a way. And that really in the 70s, that was quite a big part of the whole thing. Then it was quite new to be big and extravagant and to put on a real spectacle. It was a reaction in a way against all the bands who just used to come on in jeans and face with their backs to the audience. Yeah. It was actually putting on a show and really entertaining people, and so it was a reaction to that, and that was very much us. I think in the 80s the music went away from that kind of direction, but the shows got bigger. But we did a couple of stripped down tours, but really I think people wanted to see the big shows, and I mean the big shows still happen. I mean I saw the U2 Europa tour, and I mean that was a big tour. It was a massive, the Pink Floyd tour was massive production. So in a way, those people, a lot of people went to see those. So I think there is still a real place for that kind of gigantic spectacle.
Like one of the shortest Queen songs that I know of is "We Will Rock You." How did that come about? Just because it opens with you banging on the drums and boom boom, and lyric and everything.
Yeah, we were just trying to come up with the simplest sort of audience participation thing that we could think of. And so Brian came up with this lyric. It's really it's an audience participation thing. Oh, boom, boom, crack, that thing. And it worked beautifully, you know. So we recorded it very simply. Everybody thinks it's drums on there. It's not. It's just feet and hands, and just recorded many times over. So it sounds like a lot of people. Just sounds like a big thing. And with a sort of simple shouted street lyric, with a participatory chorus, and that's what We Will Rock You is. And to this day, it seems to have endured as some kind of anthem, which is fine by me.
All right, we will just watch that one. This is We Will Rock You with Queen. I Want to Break Free looked like a real fun video to make. So what was it like to dress up in drag and, you know? Well,
you're right. It was probably the most fun we ever had making a video. It was just rather odd idea, I suppose, really, but I think it came from me. And the original idea was to look like a soap that we have in England called Coronation Street. It's probably the most famous soap in England. And we were going to dress up as characters from the soap. But in the end, it turned out to be like a cross between that and a complete drag show. But it was such good fun to make, and I think some of the fun came over on camera.
But it changed over. It started off with all of y'all being in drag, and then it went on to Freddie in the tight body suits, you know?
Yeah, I don't know how... Freddie was the only person who could have turned a drag act doing a soap into the Royal Ballet, but he managed it in about 3 minutes. Yeah, I never could work out what that bit meant in the middle.
So the movie Highlander, which broke box office records everywhere. And the song from the movie, which also broke box office records, A Kind of Magic. How did that come about?
Well, I wrote the song. It was basically, it came, we were watching the movie, which I thought was visually brilliant, and it just came from a line that was used a couple of times in the movie, when the Christopher, whatever he's called, was Lambert, that's right, was describing his powers, because he was immortal.
Yeah.
And he would describe it by saying, hey, it's a kind of magic. So I thought, title for song. And so in fact they went on to use that in the second movie as well. And of course it became quite a big hit for Queen. And in fact we even based a tour around the title of that. And so that was good memories, actually.
But the video is very, very different from what the movie's all about.
Yeah, the video is totally different. We treated it as a video for the song and with nothing to do with the movie. We did Who Wants to Live Forever after that, I think. And as I remember, I think we included movie shots in that. But I felt that A Kind of Magic should stand on its own. And it didn't need, it worked without the context of the film. So it really didn't need the movie to prop it up.
It was quite a neat concept. All four of you dressed up as tramps, and then you have this magic genie coming in and turning everybody into, you know, barons. It was quite cool.
It was a nice idea. Freddie was the magician, you know, who turned us all into musicians.
Queen was one of the first bands to make videos with their fan club members. I always like playing impromptu gigs for fans and then, you know, making videos with them.
Well, really, I think the idea came out for a start. I mean, I think Bohemian Rhapsody was basically the first sort of video, which was very much our sort of concept. And we actually sort of designed all the lighting and everything for it as a band. And so we were sort of quite into the role of doing videos then. And I think maybe the first one was Champions, was it? We thought, well, what we need here is like the excitement of a live concert. Now, how do we get that? How do we get that? You know, we need an audience that's going to do what they're asked, and be a little bit choreographed in a way. And so we thought, well, the best way would be to get in contact with the members of our fan club and see if they would like to be in. Of course, you know, everybody was very pleased to come along. And I think we did that several times. We did it with a song called Friends Will Be Friends, and with Radio Gaga as well. So it was always an instant source of immediate crowd.
Yeah, but that clap is like almost kind of tradition at every Queen concert and every time Radio Gaga is played. I mean, it looked massive, yeah. And what you linked it to the concept of Metropolis also.
Yes, that was just a lucky thing, really. We ran into Giorgio Moroder in Munich, and Freddie and I had always been massive fans of the old Fritz Lang movie Metropolis, which is a very old movie, but it's a sort of science future fiction masterpiece. And he just happened to mention that he'd bought the film rights for that, which wasn't exactly true, but so we said, hey, well look, we'll write a song for you if we swap, you know. So I think we did something for him which was called Love Kills, which came out under Freddie's name, in fact, and it was on the Metropolis soundtrack which he put together, and we got the rights to use for a year, I think, of Metropolis which fitted in somehow with the Radio Gaga concept, that very sort of 30s sort of look, you know. Although in fact the movie was made before then, I think.
1927.
I think it was 26, but yeah, okay. It was very good. Yeah.
Roger, apart from being with Queen, sometime in 1988 you also revealed your own band Cross, and went on to produce a lot of songs and singles for different artists. So where do you think your forte lies?
Oh, really? It was always we always regarded the Queen as the mothership. You know, it was always the thing that you could always come back to, and it was the provider, and it was the mainstay of our sort of lives. But if ever we had long periods of inactivity, I'd sometimes get a bit frustrated creatively, so I would do other things. And the Cross was a band that I had some fun with, and it was sort of, it didn't have a lot of success, but it was fun. It was good fun, and that really happened in one of those periods, you know.
One of the singles that Cross released was Heaven for Everyone. The Heaven for Everyone we hear on Made in Heaven, is it the same song?
Same song, but it's different treatment of the same song. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
All right. We're going to watch a song that was originally a Cross song, but now definitely treated as Roger says. This is Heaven for Everyone.
It would have been pointless if it had been the same. I want to do something a bit more basic and straightforward and simpler, and so that's what we did. But the Cross was a thing that lasted for a couple of years, and now it's over. And so it was an episode.
And what are your future plans as a musician?
I don't know whether Queen will be working together again. It's a possibility, but it is a possibility. So that there's that, and I'm also making a solo album, but slowly at the moment. I don't know when it'll be out. Maybe sometime next year. But it's going back to the roots of it again. But it's coming nicely and slowly. No, I'm not trying to rush it.
Okay, we're going to watch a really, very, very nice Queen song, which is one of my personal favorites also. This one's called These Are the Days of Our Lives.
I don't know how many years was it, 20 odd years working together very closely. And we were close friends before we worked together anyway. So I do remember one moment before Queen, actually, when we were just trying to start Queen. We had a stall together in Kensington Market in London, and we used to sell clothes, old clothes, and we didn't have any money, and Freddie was always late. So he arrived one day, took off his coat, went for a coffee, and we hadn't sold anything that day. So a woman came along, she said, "That's a nice coat." I said, "It's yours for £10. So she said, "Done." She put it on and walked down the street. Came back, he went nuts. And this was about the time that Jimi Hendrix died, I remember. And so that was that kind of time period. He ran down the street, found the woman, threw the £10 at her, tore it off her back. It was, it just goes back a long way.
And what was the one thing that Freddie believed in right from the beginning of the band till this day, till he died?
Oh, he believed in the band. He was always the one that would pull us together if we were, if we were fighting or anything. And he was the one that suggested that we pool all the writing. and call for the last, I don't know, 6-8 years. Everything was listed as Queen, whether I might have written the song or he might have written the song. It didn't matter. It was all put under one group name, and then to make it a totally democratic, equal thing, and that was a very strengthening thing to do. So it was a true band in that sense. So.
All right. Well, we could go on forever, but time constraints. So that brings us to the end of our show. It was really nice talking to you, Roger. It was a real honor to have you on the show.
I must say, it's great to be in India.